Hello and welcome. Today I'm sharing the key findings from the AI Meetup Copenhagen Community Report 2026. And I want to do it in a useful way, whether you work in a large or small organization or in academia, or you're just someone trying to make sense of what's happening with AI right now. So, what is AI Meetup Copenhagen? It's a Danish nonprofit, multidisciplinary network and meetup for innovators, creators, and developers who are passionate about learning and talking about artificial intelligence. As of January 2026, we have around 1,100 verified members, developers, business professionals, academics, designers, a diverse group of people who care about where AI is heading. This report explores how generative AI is being understood, used, and debated today, in practice, in organizations, in everyday work. We based our research on 15 in-depth interviews and over 100 survey responses. Our participants include business practitioners, consultants, academics, developers, and designers. And one important thing to note, these are predominantly early movers. They are already integrating GenAI into their daily lives and work, which means they offer a preview of what the wider market may soon face. Let me start with how our community actually uses GenAI. Around 52% of respondents identify as advanced users, 32% as intermediate, 8% as experts, and only 7% as beginners. This is not a crowd that's just experimenting casually. These are people who have integrated these tools into their professional routines. The top use cases are coding and software development, research and data analysis, content creation, and business operations and productivity. And 87% of our community uses GenAI to assist with coding or software development. That shows just how central these tools have become in technical work. But the adoption journey is not smooth for everyone. The most common challenge our respondents reported is data quality and availability. That was followed closely by ethical and regulatory uncertainty, a lack of clear strategy, organizational resistance, and the cost of infrastructure. These are practical barriers. And here's something that I think deserves attention. About half of our community can work through their GenAI challenges, but the other half still get stuck. The people who struggle the most tend to be in small and medium-sized organizations, often due to limited resources and slower internal alignment. There's also this pervasive feeling that the field is just moving too fast. One day, a problem seems nearly impossible to solve. The next, a company releases a ready-made solution. That speed is exciting, but it is also quite exhausting. And I think many professionals, regardless of how technically capable they are, can relate to that feeling of running just to stay in place. Now let's talk about risks and concerns. When we asked our community what worries the most, 3 themes dominated. Hallucinations and misinformation came out on top at 85%. Data privacy and leakage at 77%. And ethical issues and regulation at 73%. People are encountering hallucinations, where a GenAI tool confidently produces incorrect information firsthand, and that's actually making users more careful and more aware of the tool's real limitations. There's also a newer and increasingly urgent concern. What happens when AI systems start communicating directly with each other? Something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, makes it easier for AI systems to connect to external services. But because its design is open and standards are still weak, it can create serious security vulnerabilities when integrations aren't carefully managed. Another concern on the regulatory side, the EU AI Act plays an important role. It can help ensure innovation moves forward responsibly. But here's the tension. Many organizations are postponing ethics and compliance work rather than building it in from the beginning, and that creates real costs later. Fixing a non-compliant product after the fact is always harder and more expensive than designing it responsibly from the start. And finally, a risk that came up repeatedly in our interviews and has stayed with me, the concern that over-reliance on GenAI could erode our critical thinking. If we delegate more and more cognitive work to these tools, will we lose our ability to think independently? Now let me share what the community is excited about. because there is a lot of optimism here and it deserves equal attention. The three themes generating the most excitement are AI for social good at 59%, agentic AI also at 59%, and the everyday integration of GenAI into consumer technology at 55%. These are meaningful areas where people feel hope about what GenAI can enable. Opinions on the bigger picture are quite polarized. Some see GenAI as the next step in a long line of technology waves, like the internet or mobile phones, significant, but evolutionary. Others see it as a turning point that will fundamentally reshape industries and how we interact with information. But here is a shift I find particularly encouraging. Regardless of where you stand on that debate, the conversation is changing. A few years ago, most GenAI projects were solution-driven. People would approach AI experts without a clear problem in mind, just excited about the technology itself. Now we're seeing something different. Leaders are thinking about the problem first, and then asking whether GenAI can help solve it. That is a sign of maturity. It means GenAI is being approached with more intention and more clarity. Beyond the survey findings, our interviews revealed 4 themes that consistently emerged across diverse conversations. I want to walk you through each of them. The first is about consulting firms and marketing agencies becoming what you could call GenAI-powered software as a service providers. GenAI is disrupting the traditional hourly billing model. Many tasks that junior consultants used to perform, research, analysis, drafting, are increasingly being automated. What we're seeing is that agencies and consulting firms are reinventing themselves as AI enablers. They are building GenAI-powered tools and offering them to clients as subscription products. The expertise doesn't disappear, it gets embedded into the product. Consultants remain essential for decision-making and client relationships, but the nature of how value is created is fundamentally shifting. The second theme is one I find both fascinating and a little unsettling. Mental downtime is disappearing. Before GenAI, developers had a natural rhythm. Phases of deep thinking would alternate with more mechanical tasks, cleaning data, writing routine code that didn't require intense cognitive effort. Those repetitive tasks gave people's minds a chance to recover while still making progress. Now, with GenAI handling those repetitive steps, developers are in problem-solving mode almost constantly. And paradoxically, being more efficient is leading to more work, not less. Time saved quickly fills with new and more demanding tasks. That is something organizations need to think about very deliberately. The third theme is what we call the promise and paradox of AI for social good. 59% of our respondents are excited about GenAI's potential to help address climate change, improve education, enhance public health, create accessibility tools, and accelerate scientific discovery. But more than half of those same respondents are also concerned about the environmental cost of training GenAI models, which consumes massive amounts of energy, as well as job displacement and growing economic inequality. Job displacement due to automation is not a new phenomenon, but the real question is whether GenAI will accelerate that process at a pace and scale we're not prepared for. If these tools are deployed without careful thought, they can just as easily increase inequality as reduce it. The promise and the risk lie very close together. The fourth theme is about GenAI literacy and the 3 distinct types of GenAI users that we identified. Not everyone understands GenAI equally, and this can influence adoption. We found users generally fall into one of 3 groups. The optimists, who see GenAI as almost magical and hold unrealistic expectations, and the realists, who understand both the capabilities and the limitations and use the tools pragmatically. And the pessimists, who are reluctant or fearful, worried about risks or job displacement and tend to avoid engagement. The optimists and pessimists each create different challenges for those leading adoption efforts, managing inflated expectations on one side, overcoming resistance on the other. What this tells us is that GenAI adoption is just as much a cultural and educational challenge as a technical one. So what do we recommend? Based on everything we found, 3 things stand out. First, responsibility needs to be built in from the start. Ethics, security, and compliance should not be added later as an afterthought. When organizations treat responsible AI as a core design principle, not a checkbox, the result is better, more trustworthy products and far fewer costly corrections down the road. Second, being more efficient with GenAI only works if well-being is part of the equation. If we measure success only by hours saved, we risk missing what's actually happening to the people doing the work. Workflows need to be deliberately designed to allow for recovery, cognitive recovery, so that efficiency doesn't quietly become burnout. Third, investing in GenAI literacy leads to more people actually benefiting from these tools. Misunderstandings about what GenAI is and what it isn't create both unrealistic expectations and unnecessary resistance. The answer is investment in clear communication, role-specific training, and peer learning networks where people can learn from real experiences. And let me close with the thought that keeps coming back to me when I look at everything we found. The challenge ahead is how thoughtfully GenAI will be integrated into our lives and our organizations. Sustained value depends on how organizations manage risks, redesign their work processes, and build GenAI literacy. The AI Meetup Copenhagen community gives us a valuable early look at what that journey looks like. The excitement, the friction, and the very human dimensions of a technology that is already reshaping how we work and think. Thank you for listening.